Well, few things can upset, even inflame a parent, like seeing an injustice done to their child.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
There's plenty of them in a child's life and an adult's life. As a parent, it's important to know when to step in and when to let natural consequences take
Right.
to result.
This one I'm going to let you answer.
No,
That is so simple. I'm going to let you answer that question.
We all experience that.
Oh,
and
that's
we just
terrible.
make it up as we go.
I
but
know. Well, a child needs to learn early that life isn't fair.
That's big for some
and
families.
if I may, at the risk of sounding very un-American, we are not all created equal.
You want?
Let me be careful
Explain that. Yeah, that's
here. Yeah,
interesting.
let me be careful. We all certainly have equal rights to be acknowledged and respected.
Right.
But I'm not equal in athletic skills with him or academic skills with her. You're not equal with this individual that, works out every day and is a specimen of incredible physical conditioning, but you are capable in areas that he's not. So I think it's invaluable that kids learn. Life has its unfair moments. Now then, we're back to balance. If I discover he's being bullied, that's not just unfair. That can't be tolerated. Mm-hmm. And if the teacher tolerates it, we need another teacher, or we need another principal, or we need to deal with it correctly and swiftly. Because there's only one language a bully learns, and that's very firm consequences. And usually by someone much larger and in greater authority. Because often when you slug it out with a bully, he'll beat you up. Mm-hmm. And often it's bullying because he's larger. So I think you have to go through the balance of talking about it. One of our children had a teacher that was not only unfair, but brutal. And finally, after we realized his grades were really falling, I said to him, "Son, what's the matter here?" He said, "Dad, she's terrible." And some kids think that about their teachers because they're not doing well. I said, "Well, what do you mean?" So I decided to listen. Well, he said, when Danny didn't do what he should have done, she made Danny stand outside. And Dad, it's cold out there. It was about 40 degrees with a wind that day and didn't let Danny take his coat. And he stood out there for 30 minutes. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Inside you and inside me, something goes off. And finally, Cynthia and I decided it's time to say something, and they let that teacher go. It's one thing for a child to deal with the normal ups and downs of life and the unfair moments. It's another thing to say you're gonna be a doormat no matter what. That's at that point something gets twisted.
Yeah.
And they don't get a proper set of values of their own worth or of your not protecting them.
And that's crushing. That'll last a lifetime.
Terrible. He still remembers that. That's when he stopped wanting to learn. He's probably got the brightest mind in our family, but didn't realize it till he was an adult. He reads things that I don't read. Mm-hmm. He has interests in areas that are completely beyond me. I mean, he's brilliant, but he never wanted to finish high school. He did finish, but he hated it. All went back to a teacher that we didn't deal with quick enough. And I say that about protecting a child. That's part of protecting a child when they can't protect themselves.
That is the interesting line and how to know the difference, because when your child gets a C, there are parents today who will storm into school with war paint because what have you done to my child?
Right.
You gave them a grade that will, Ivy League now is threatened.
Oh, yeah.
And
it says a lot about me.
There's damage can be done there.
All right. When I was president of Dallas Seminary, I was dealing with young men and women, and some middle-aged men and women, and there was a particular group that came from another country where it is absolutely essential in the eyes of the father that, especially if you're the firstborn male, you're valedictorian.
Wow.
Okay, I'm paying your way. You're valedictorian. You got that? And the young man had done very well. In fact, I think he had a 3.9. Maybe 4.0, but he made a B in history. This grown man came into my office, happened not to be married. He came, he was alone, had been to school 4 years. 4 years, earned his master's, was about 2 months from graduation. And he begged me to change his grade. I said, you know, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is an excellent teacher. I know, he said, but I'm willing to take this over. I mean, he got really frenzied. And before long, this is a true story, he got down on his hands and knees in my office and begged me to change. And I said, tell you what, I'll get a hold of your father, because he had mentioned his name. He said, no. I mean, he jumped on that one.
Wow.
He said, you just need to know that if I'm not valedictorian, he's not going to be at the graduation. Well, we got a father problem here, okay? But we've also got a culture issue that I'm not going to solve sitting in my little office at Dallas Seminary. Guess what? The B stayed in place. He was salutatorian, and his father didn't come. Pause right there and think. What a terrible pressure to put a kid under. I mean, Dallas Seminary, getting out with, you were there. You know what I mean.
I would be thrilled to end up.
I mean, honestly, to get out of there with a 3.5, 3.3, it's great. Not for that father. So we're back again to parents that give a child room, knowing that, and boy, if anybody did his best, he was doing his best. But he just happened to not hit it on that one test. And he deserved a B.
Yeah.
I looked at the transcript, talked to the teacher. Should have gotten a B. And that should not be changed to an A. But he had a hard time dealing with what he felt was an unfair set of rules.
Well, there's a lifetime of lessons to learn from. I didn't achieve this.
Yes.
And that's what I have to work with.
Absolutely.
And to be rescued all the time, through elementary school, through junior high, to be rescued so that I know a father who was over-rescued, and he's damaged. He has no faith in himself.
That's right.
To perform or to achieve.
Right.
Because his parents really were the achievers.
I remember seeing a cartoon where this little kid's standing there with the teacher, and he's just done his work on the chalkboard, and he didn't do it well. And she said to him, you know your problem, you're an underachiever. And he looks at her and he says, no, ma'am, you're an over-expector. Isn't that a great answer?
I like that.
She probably failed him, but at that moment it seemed like a cute cartoon. It'd be easy to over-expect. Plus, we're back on the subject of unfair. When a person learns early in life that it isn't fair, it doesn't derail her or him when they reach the place where they're not treated fair. Saw a woman last week. She and her husband moved to an area, this was several years ago. The company promised by moving, you would not only get this nice promotion, you would get a very hefty raise. So they moved from a settled situation where they had been living for years. Took all their family, moved there, got settled. They let him go. They didn't have to let him go. Whatever happened beyond that, I'm not able to say, but it's a point here. That's not fair. Now, for him to live the rest of his life bitter, that's how very dangerous things happen in the workplace. When a person doesn't get what he expected, he loads up a weapon. There's something twisted in all of that. I think we need to step up to the fact that some people in the pastorate are not going to be treated as pastors ought to be treated. I tell pastors somewhat regularly, if that goes on constantly, you're in the wrong place. Some churches are pastor killer churches. Some some people who help make their boss look real good never get the credit for it. You got to learn to live with some of that. Now, happy is the one whose boss says, you know what?
Sure.
It's because of her we're able to do this. But it isn't always like that. Life ain't fair. We're not all equal. Situations aren't all equally pleasant.